I'm Alen Stellian, the Midlife Empowerment Coach, and today I am thrilled to introduce our guest, Melissa Peterson. Melissa is the male half of the Chrimel, is that how it's pronounced? Chrimel? Chrimel Show, a show about a husband and wife ditching their suburban home to chase their dreams and embrace midlife. She's a writer, an actor, and a screenwriter. And her life roles, I love the way you put that, include wife, mom, stepmom, and I cannot believe this, grandma. Melissa, welcome. I've been just so looking forward to our conversation today.
Oh, thank you. So have I.
Yay. Okay, so let's start from the basics here. Why attempt your goal now, if I understand this, is 12 different cities in 12 months. Like you're actually living for a month in each of these cities. And I'm assuming this is in the US. Like what possessed you to do this? Where's all your stuff? Like, how do you do this?
Well, what possessed us was we were sitting in Canada in Vancouver and I was finishing up film school. And my husband asked, what are we going to do after this? And he brought up the idea of the 12 cities in 12 months. And I went, oh, well, yeah, let's try it. And the big reason why I said yes is that, you know how you always hear about the grass being greener on the other side? Well, if we see all of the sides of the grass, then sooner or later we don't have to worry about the grass being greener on the other side. And also we are super indecisive. It took us a while to decide, and actually we still haven't decided, but between a condo and a house, it's like, well, which would work better for us? What would we like more? So we've been living in condos quite a bit since ditching our suburban home, and we're loving it. There are some drawbacks, but that's the overall thing. And the other part of it is just really loving travel. I was a big fan of Jack Kerouac and On the Road and all of those romantic 60s road books. I loved them. And so that there's always been a bit of that in me, I think.
So did you actually sell your home or whatever? I mean, and your possessions, or how did you transition to this way of life?
Right. When we were living up in Canada, we were just Airbnb-ing, and it was like, oh, okay, that's great. When we decided to start the 12 cities in 12 months, we went ahead and sold our house. We have a few belongings in storage, but we wanted to keep our storage unit as small as possible because it seems silly to be paying for a place for your stuff to live.
Right.
So we really got compact. We sold a bunch of belongings. And now it's pretty awesome. Like we're completely debt free and just on the road.
So are you on the road literally like in a car? Are you driving from one place to the other?
Yes, we have a good sized SUV, a 4Runner that we load on up and drive from place to place. It's surprising how quickly it does fill up. It's just like, oh, you gotta be tight on that stuff. And then on our trips, we're trying to be conscientious of not going too far in one leg of the journey. Like we were living in Dallas, we're on our way to Austin. I'm sitting here in Waco, just for a couple of hours.
Right.
And then heading on.
Amazing. Now, how did you choose, the 12 cities? I mean, do you have the whole 12 cities mapped out, or is it like a work in progress as you go along?
It's a bit of a work in progress. We're only committing to places a few months out. We're committed through January on places that we're staying. We started out, as you mentioned, I'm a grandma. So we started out with the grandbaby tour. First we were in Minneapolis to catch up with family. Then we went to St. Louis for a grandchild. And then we went to Dallas for another grandchild. And now we are on our way to Austin, which is our first city with no ties to family. We don't know really anyone there. There are a couple of people I know of, but can't remember that well. You know how you have those high school acquaintances?
Right. Or maybe some Facebook people, you're like, who lives in my city? In the city I'm going to. It's like, I do that sometimes when I'm traveling. Although Facebook doesn't make it easy. Like you have to literally, I found out, like change your own location in order to see who's in your hometown with you. And then you can change it back. That's the way to tell. That's just a little tip for everybody. You can't just look up like, oh, who's in Austin, in my Facebook feed. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Fun to make those connections. Okay, so what are your, post, the family cities, what are your criteria? Like why Austin, why wherever you're going next?
Right. Austin is unique in that it's because of the Austin Film Festival, because I was in film school and I have some screenplays that I want to shop, and we want to make some connections there. So that's the big reason for Austin. Now, next up from Austin is Phoenix. And the only reason for Phoenix is a couple of girlfriends. We were actually going to go from Austin to San Diego, and we're like, well, that's such a long drive. And then one of my girlfriends was like, well, why wouldn't you come visit us? It's like, well, of course.
Right.
I'm going to go to Phoenix. So we'll spend a month there hanging out and then move on to San Diego, which is just, it's one of my top cities because we do kind of want to look at cities we might consider for retirement.
Okay.
To settle down more.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say retirement because I don't think we're ever going to.
Right. That kind of right. Because you've sold your home, you've got some stuff in storage that you could easily have shipped to wherever. So is the end goal that you're hopefully one of these cities might be where you end up for a while?
I kind of hope so. We've been discussing it, and we might shift from 12 cities in 12 months to 3 months in 3 months each in 4 different countries.
Oh, countries.
Yeah.
Wow.
Next year we might shift that plan a little bit. Because it seems like visas work out to stay in a place for about 3 months as a visitor.
Right.
Most places. So.
Yes, right. Now, what? And I just want to give a shout out to Susan Morris and Sally Wadella here. Hi, watching us live. If you have any questions, ladies, let us know. I just think this is fascinating. So I want to know, you get to a city. First of all, I'm assuming you said you do Airbnb in a city typically.
We are finding that we love Sonder. It's a corporate housing.
Oh.
I have a ton of allergies and a ton of reasons to not be a good traveler, and they just seem to do a really good job. We have stayed in Airbnbs. We were in an Airbnb in Dallas, and it was nice and everything, but we just think Sonder.
I don't know. So that's corporate house, SAUNDER?
SONDER, and they're based out of Montreal, Canada, which might be why they showed up on our feed and whatnot.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Well, good tip for people. So they're corporate housing, so you can rent a place for a month, and then you're in your new place. And what is your, especially, if you don't have family and a grandbaby to hold all day long, what are you trying to do in this city? Are you seeing the sites? Talk to us about also what you do with your YouTube channel.
Oh, sure. Mission number 1 when we get to the new city, like when we get to Austin, will be, of course, unloading, checking out the apartment, trying to get a handle on that aspect of life, because each kitchen is unique. Every aspect is unique and what you get to juggle. And then it's about figuring out the neighborhood and what places that we can walk to. Typically on our YouTube channel, we'll start with something that shows this is where we're living. Okay, this is the neighborhood. This is how walkable it is. Are we happy with the neighborhood that we selected? And we've learned that is a really critical piece of the pie. And then we'll typically do something where we see some sites that the city is known for. Like in Dallas, we went to the 6th Floor Museum to check out all the information on JFK and the assassination. And we also, on a more cheerful note, went to South Fork. I don't know if you watched Dallas.
Yes, of course.
So
South Fork. There's a South Fork. Oh my God.
Yeah. It's like the actual ranch that was used in a lot of the shows, not all the interiors. But yeah, it was fantastic to tour it. It was over the top.
Right. So, and you do this as a husband and wife team. Yeah. So what's the dynamic like? And this is a lot of togetherness, Melissa. This is like a lot of togetherness. Like, how is that?
A ton of togetherness, and it is quite the collaborative experience. And what's been amazing for both of us is we've grown in our communication skills with each other and how we present information, because you get so familiar with, say, a husband or a best friend or whatnot, that you can just kind of straight, say, I'm mad. But when you're trying to work on a project where each person is bringing creativity to the table and has an opinion, and neither side is necessarily right, just, I don't like that and I don't want to do that. Doesn't really work.
Mm.
And so it's like, well, we have to treat this as a nice professional relationship and really listen to one another and not assume that one person is being stubborn. And I think I really learned a lot about collaborating in a positive way while I was in film school.
Yeah.
That helped a lot. And then my husband got to overhear me in my classes, taking critiques, giving critiques. And I think that also helped him with how he's giving feedback now. Like it has altered a lot, where we would each kind of be protective and like, no, this is how it should be. And I'm not going to share this with you until it's done, to more of a, oh, well, hey, let's just talk about it. Let's work through it. Why are you bumping on this? That's like a big screenwriter term of, I'm kind of bumping here.
Bumping. What does that mean? Well,
Yeah.
you're
Where it's like there's something written or said that you just have a strong reaction to that's negative. But instead of saying, well, this is horrible, I don't like this, why would you write this? Why would you say this? It's, well, I'm kind of bumping on that particular moment.
it's like a soft way to come across. Yeah. Yeah.
Here's what I feel like I'm taking there. And so it's been great for our relationship. Plus, we can even see ourselves on camera going, oh, I do make that face when you say that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Like when I'm watching yourselves back afterwards, that's got to be something.
Oh yeah.
But then again, coming from a film background, and he's also was also in film?
He's in tech.
Okay. Oh, well, that's a good combination for the two of you.
Yes. And I mean, he's always been creative and written and done things. He once came out with like a satirical newspaper way like 25 years ago or something.
Wow.
So he's always been very creative, but.
Yeah. Wow. So is the idea, I'm sure this is not a first for me to ask, but are you going to write a book, or like, are you taking notes? Are you journaling as you go along? Besides the YouTube, videos that you will have as a great recollection, like, is there, a movie? Is there something you can, there's going to be so much material here. Like, what do you do with your adventures afterwards?
Oh, that is a great question, because it's like, oh, well, I could do a book and like, I'll journal because writing is kind of how I think. However, it's hard to picture what it'll be. So I almost am feeling like, well, this first 12 cities should just kind of be an exploration of like laying the groundwork. And then maybe we'll have to do it all over again to really get an idea for the book. However, documenting on YouTube and then also on Instagram, I think gives me a lot of material that I can then go back to and reference to make sure, because, since you're, you forget things and how it all works. And so that's like, oh, okay, well, I can go back and reference that detail to make sure that I'm correct.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I mean, there's so many possibilities, right? And it's like, I'm sure you're not at the stage where you want to lock yourself into anything, but it's more like, we could do this or we could do that. And it's not really just having, there's no need to decide now. For me, I would just be more concerned with, I want to make sure I've got images, the video, the written, like everything written down, so I don't forget that time we stopped in Waco and this happened at the gas station or whatever, like the little pieces, the little nuggets that are going to enrich whatever you choose to do with this.
Definitely. And speaking of just Waco, we had no idea until we pulled into town. There's like a woolly mammoth museum.
So that's worth exploring. That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, who knew? Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're choosing mostly like large cities, right? I mean, you're really doing 12 cities in 12 months. You're not going into, farmland or something somewhere.
Not into farmland. We are, our last reserved space is in Pismo Beach. Oh. And so that's just like 9,000 people. But
yeah, that's small, but it sounds, say the word beach and I'm there. That sounds really great. It's in California, right?
Yeah, it's sort of wine country. And so it'll be small but lovely, I'm sure.
So it's funny, my husband and I took a 3-week honeymoon in Southeast Asia, 26 years ago. By the end, we were so sick and tired of our clothes. Like we each had one big duffel bag. You could fit more in your car. Literally, we were like, oh my God, I never want to see these pieces of clothing again. So like, how do you pack for this?
I have the perfect solution for this.
Hey,
Absolutely perfect. Rent the Runway.
yes, I love
Subscribe
Rent the
to
Runway. Yes.
Runway. And so I just line it up with changing my address a bunch of times. And the only drawback I have to Sonder is I have to set up a UPS box. I've got to go into there to get that rolling. But that way I am never sick of my clothes. I just have a few basics, and otherwise my wardrobe changes every week.
But I thought Rent the Runway was more for like dresses, like fancy dresses. No, I've not looked them up.
More.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you can do a monthly subscription, and I do one where I can get 4 items every single week.
So
and
you
this is Rent the Runway.
Really? So you just totally freshen up, which is smart because you're going to be on video and whatever. You don't want to be like, I'm always on these videos and it's like the same, 15 tops that I wear over and over again. Cause I wear 80% of my closet is never worn practically. So like the rest of us. Oh, that's brilliant. I love that. Yeah. So you two don't get sick of your stuff, and that's really interesting. So tell me more about the neighborhoods that you choose, and because it sounds like walking is a big priority for you. Like you don't want to have, especially like in a place like Dallas, which is such a driving city, or even LA. Like, are you able to find and you vet for neighborhoods where you'll be able to walk to your grocery store and such?
That was our big mistake with Dallas is we looked for proximity to our grandson, which was great. However, like our walking situation, there was like a telephone pole in the center of the sidewalk, so you had to go into the street on this one thing that would have otherwise been a nice walking path. And yeah, there wasn't really a grocery store within walking distance, and blazing hot. September is like the 4th hottest month there.
Right.
But it was still like 90 to 100 degrees. And we have realized, as I'm a Minnesotan, that
that's hot.
I will absolutely bundle up that hot. So now we are we're running, I think it's called walkingscore.com. I can check.
Yes, I love it. Is we have where I am in Chicago, we have a score of 100.
Ah, wonderful.
I know, it's so amazing when you so I'm with you on the walking score. Awesome site.
From now on, before we commit to a spot, we're putting that address into walkingscore.com and getting the rundown on it. And with Airbnb, for those who haven't used it much, you have like 2 days to cancel because you can't always get the address right away.
Yes. Oh yeah, no, you get it once you book. Yeah.
Yeah. So after you book, put it in, and then you have your 2 days. And next time we are totally canceling if we find out it's worth it.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, you want to be. I mean, what do you look for? Like an 80s, 90s? Like, what's a good walk score?
I think 90s and above is fantastic. I don't think I'll ever go for anything below 85.
Yeah.
The neighborhood we were in Dallas was like a 56.
Right. So that means you pretty much have to drive to most errands, and and there's got to be, there's some cities, I don't know, you may know LA better than me. There's some cities that aren't as walkable in general as others, but they still have little neighborhoods, that you could have at least your little town, your dry cleaners, your whatever, some little, things.
Yeah, we noticed that about Phoenix and San Diego. Overall, their walkability scores are low, but the neighborhood we found in Phoenix is great. The neighborhood we found in San Diego, I think, ranks close to 100. I don't think it's quite 200, but it's pretty close. So that's nice, because another thing we really have to consider with our nomadic lifestyle is we only have one vehicle. And, right. And it's an SUV and it's just a Toyota, but it has like these huge wheels. It had like a lift kit thing when we bought it. And so I feel awkward driving it. I do not like driving it.
Yeah, I don't like huge cars, especially, and depends on the city too. Like if Dallas is probably okay because they're the land of big cars, but like, some cities with smaller roads and alleys and stuff, that would be harder.
Oh yeah, I couldn't imagine like Philadelphia.
Right. With your big honking, vehicle, like your truck, you're like driving down the cobbled streetways. That would be hard. Oh my God.
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
So with neighborhoods, it's at Walkability. We also we actually have a whole checklist that we run down on our list where it's like, it has to have a coffee shop. It has to have arts. Like theater is very important to me. In the neighborhood we were in Minneapolis, the Guthrie Tony Award-winning theater was like kitty corner.
Right.
So,
Now, did you embark on this? Yeah, you did, of course, during the pandemic, right? I mean, you started. So were you planning on this? Then the pandemic happened and you're like, we're doing it anyway? Or was this like, how did that factor into things?
we were planning to move to Minneapolis in March. And then the
Of
pandemic
last year?
happened. Yeah, right when the pandemic was happening. And once the pandemic happened, we were like, okay, well, we live in Rochester, Minnesota, which if you don't know, it's a home of the Mayo Clinic. It's a very medical focused city. And we had our own house. And we're like, well,
Also
that's
a lot of snow and cold.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But we're like, well, this is safer than going to Minneapolis right now. So we're not going to go to Minneapolis right now. And then spring came and we're like, oh, okay, well, maybe we could go to Minneapolis. And then Memorial Day weekend came, George Floyd was killed.
Yes.
All of that happened and that turmoil. And we're like, well, probably not right now is ideal. And so then we came up with, well, what if we always wanted to do that we haven't done yet? And I went, oh, film school. So then that's how we ended up in Vancouver, British Columbia, because also education was one of the very few ways that you could cross over into Canada during the pandemic.
Right.
So then we spent the 8 months there, and then we were like, okay, we don't want to go back to snow and cold if the pandemic's still going to be going on. And of course, we all had that moment of excitement.
Yes,
in July,
we thought it was going to be over.
It's going to be amazing because actually our route was going to be like Chicago, New York City, and a couple of cities in between. But we're like, well, we don't want to be there when it's cold, and outdoor dining is huge for us, and outdoor physical activities.
So but you had thought of the idea before the pandemic, or no? No. So it like literally just kind of, as you couldn't go to different places, you were like, oh, let's do this. I don't know. And you said it was your husband it was Chris who thought of this?
Yeah, we're both impulsive dreamers.
Yes. Wow. That's amazing. That's just, so what did your family and friends think? I mean, maybe they were excited because you were going to come spend a month in their towns, but I mean, did you get any pushback?
Yeah, we did get a bit. Like there was excitement about, like, for my daughter, she was excited that we were coming for a month, but she was also like, Mom, why do this? You have a home. Don't you do this when you're like 60?
Right.
Sweetheart, 60 is not guaranteed.
Right.
And there were some other family members who were just like, but home is so nice. Isn't Rochester so nice? It's so nice to have you near, which is sweet.
Right.
However, like, especially with my daughter, there's that idea of, I have to make my choices for me, and because she was upset, and where I just felt that important boundary of saying, this is what I'm doing now in my life, and
Yeah, no, believe me, one of my daughters is, and now.
Uh-oh. You froze on me.
LA and just cannot. Melissa, can you still see me?
Oh, now I can.
Okay. Oh, yay. Okay. Momentary. I was just saying, my daughter lives in LA, one of my daughters, and when she could not understand when we bought a second home in Florida, that because it's very inconvenient for her. So I'm never going to want to go to Florida. It's like, okay, well, this is not about you. This is what your dad and I want. So yeah, the kids, she's 23, so she's not.
That's where my daughter's at too, is 23.
That's so funny. Yeah. So, and your daughter's she was the one in St. Louis?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and I went to business school in St. Louis, so it's a great city. Yeah, love it. So glad you were able to spend some time there.
Central West End, were you in that area or?
Yeah. And then I was on, what was it called? Forest. I was on one end of the park at Forest Park. Yeah. So it's really, it's very pretty. I was going to WashU. So, anyway, well, this is so interesting to me. And so I don't know, any like existential, like life takeaways you've gotten so far from, you've been doing this for, has it been 6 months already?
No, we're starting month 4.
Month 4. God, I don't know. We talked about so many cities. It sounded like 6 months, but like, have you, you know, any gems, any ahas you've gotten, any sort of, you know, any wisdom you can impart to those of us who are so sedentary and you know, staying in where we went?
I would say one is the relationship with stuff completely alters when you begin this adventure, and the meaning of stuff changes. And that can be a very valuable, eye-opening thing, I feel. And the discovery of things. And it's like simple things too. Like if I go to the grocery store in my hometown, in the same place that I've always gone, and it's a grocery store that I love, I'm going to go and pick out the same things because I know what's on my list.
Yep.
If I go to a different city and I need to stock, I don't know what's on my list. More like a more, I don't know, prevalent, a bigger thing would be that there are so many relationships that we get to have in the world, and so many ways to feel at home in the world, that you don't have to be in your house, in the community and neighborhood that you've always been in. I mean, I was in the same community for about 40 years. There were usually people I knew anywhere that I went. And venturing out, I've discovered, you know, via Zoom and all of the social media technology, that there are acquaintance relationships, which I feel are very important, that I get to have through like my workout group, that sort of thing. And then there's the awesomeness of, last night we had dinner with a couple of friends that we met through Instagram.
Wow, so fun.
Yeah, a wonderful woman named Glenda and I had connected about a year or so ago on Instagram, and just kept on liking each other. And it's like, oh, I think I know this person. I think I'd like to know this person more. So while in Dallas, she and I met up for lunch, and then we went out to dinner at their home last night, and it was a fantastic time. And to where at this point of life, I think it's easy to say, oh, we have the friends that we have, and to kind of just stay consistent with that. But really, there's, you know, so many wonderful women in the world, so many wonderful people in the world, and that there are these great connections that we can have everywhere, you know? So
I love that.
In every city.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I'm with you. I mean, I am always making new connections, and I feel so blessed to open my world up a little bit every time I meet somebody new who's, you know, we're just such interesting women in particular. I just love, you know, reaching out and talking to people like you who are doing interesting things. And I love your idea of, you know, redefining the idea of home. That's so important, that you really, home can be a lot of different things, and it doesn't have to mean your physical house in a particular neighborhood. You're not limited to that. You can really kind of craft the idea of home around what's important to you. And I love that.
Yeah. Hopefully we get it all figured out.
You know, it's a journey, right? And well, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to put your website as well as your YouTube channel in the comments, so everybody can go and check it out, because I've watched some of your videos and they're really fun. You guys also have a good sense of humor, so it's quite a trip to watch some of your videos. So I'm going to encourage everybody to go check them out and to follow your adventures and see, you know, what's interesting, what might come up out of it, right? I think this is only the beginning for you guys. I just feel like there's a lot of legs to this, and who knows where it could take you. So I appreciate you sharing so much with us today, and just I don't know, and also just your courage, your bravery. I mean, doing this, you know, impulsively and visiting, you know, so many cities, and I don't know, what a fun way to kind of find your next home in a way, right? So thank you. And thank you everybody for showing up today live, or if you're on replay. And if you enjoy these videos, please watch for more coming weekly. Until then, be well and stay safe, everybody.